Late autumn light pools across the kitchen like warm milk. From the doorway, the camera watches Corinne hum while slicing strawberries, the same weekly ritual she began the morning they brought the baby home. She arranges 5 perfect slices into a smile on a beige plate, sets it beside a glass of orange juice, steps back to admire the still life. Nothing has changed in this house for 13 years. Same creak in the third stair, same chipped enamel pot, same daughter who pads downstairs rubbing sleep from her eyes. The girl accepts the plate with a murmured thanks, and Corinne's shoulders loosen. Ordinary is the lullaby that keeps every mother calm. Yet the lens lingers on a single discordant note. The child's phone, left face down beside the cereal box, its cracked case catching a shaft of sun like a signal mirror. Corinne's gaze flickers toward it, retreats, returns, the way a tongue worries a sore tooth. She has never searched the device, has promised herself she would never be that parent, but this morning a strange gravity seems to emanate from the dark screen, bending the air. Upstairs, the bathroom door clicks, shower water drums. Corinne's hand rises without permission, flips the phone, taps in the birthday code she pretended to forget. Notes app, locked folder, thumb hovering. Water keeps drumming, time stretches like taffy. The lock dissolves. One file, dated 3:12 a.m., titled If I Disappear. Her pulse bangs in her ears. She does not open it yet, only stares at the title as a low siren swells somewhere down the block, drawing closer, louder, until the sound feels as if it is coming from inside the house. She steadies her thumb, exhales through the ringing in her ears, and taps. The note blooms, white on black, 6 sentences, no emojis, no punctuation except a final period that looks like a dropped pearl. The mother reads once, twice, a third time, mouth slack, shoulders folding inward as if the text were a falling wall. Her lungs forget their rhythm. The phone slips, clacks on porcelain, screen spiderwebbing like frost. She follows it down, knees hitting the bath mat hard enough to bruise, and the siren outside finally passes, leaving only the sound of water still drumming into an overfilled tub. In the reflected glare, she sees not herself but the hospital corridor of 14 years ago. Alarms screaming, lights stuttering out, masked shapes jogging with plastic boxes of newborns. The memory arrives uninvited, projected on the fogged mirror, flames licking the edges of the nursery window, a nurse's shoe left melting on the linoleum, paper records curling into black butterflies. She feels again the weight of the blanket they pressed into her arms, the smallness of the bundle, the way the infant didn't cry until the elevator doors shut. That silence now replays as accusation. She claws the phone from the floor, fingerprint trembling, opens the search bar, types, home paternity test overnight shipping. Her credit card is entered before she exhales. While the confirmation email pings, she is already downstairs, collecting strands from her daughter's hairbrush. Blonde, almost white, nothing like the mother's dark curls or the father's reddish brown. She seals them in a sandwich bag, writes "Do not lose" on the label, then stands in the dark kitchen clutching it to her chest as though it might beat. Sleep never arrives. At dawn, she mails the envelope, tracking number glowing on her screen like a heartbeat she refuses to silence. 3 interminable days later, the email lands. 0% match. The percentage is a slammed gate. The words beneath it, no biological relation, are the lock. She doesn't cry. Instead, she feels her spinal column turn to glass, each vertebra ringing as she sets the phone down exactly parallel to the counter's edge. Down the hall, she hears her daughter humming, innocent, off-key, the same lullaby the mother used to fake through the night feedings. The tune now sounds borrowed, contraband. She opens her mouth to call out, but only a rasp emerges, so she presses her fist to her sternum, hard, as if to keep the cracked pieces from drifting apart. Outside, thunder rolls, promising rain that hasn't started yet. She scrolls again, thumb trembling, the locked icon finally springing open under a 6-digit birthday she once pretended to forget. Inside the Notes app, 2 sentences glow like struck matches. They'll kill me if they know I'm not really theirs. The phone dims, but the afterimage stays, branding the kitchen's dark pane of glass. The mother feels her pulse in her gums, the same hot drum she heard years ago when the obstetrician said, "Hold on, we're losing her." And the ceiling lights blinked once, twice, then surrendered to generator dusk. Memory carries her back to 2008. Hallway sirens, sprinkler rain, nursery cards curling like petals in the bonfire that ate the filing room. A night shift nurse sprinted out clutching empty swaddles. Nobody noticed the name band sliding off slick plastic ankles. The news called it a tragic outage. The hospital mailed an apology bouquet the mother threw away unconsumed. Now a cotton swab, a prepaid envelope, a lab in Delaware. 48 hours later the PDF arrives. 0% maternal match. Probability of exclusion 100%. She reads it in the driveway, motor still running. Headlights throwing her shadow across the siding like a second, taller woman trying to flee. The husband's hand settles on her shoulder, heavy as a probation ankle bracelet. Together they drive to risk management, where lawyers produce a closed folder. Their genetic daughter perished 10 years ago in an adoptive father's station wagon, crushed by a drunk semi on black ice. The surviving widower, single, hospice-queued, lives 2 counties over, has no idea the girl he calls Sunshine was ever swapped. That night the house breathes drywall dust and unspoken blame. The teenager, ear pressed to stair rail spindles, catches only fragments, crash, adoption, dying, but it is enough. She slips out at dawn, backpack light except for the paperclip-bound photo of a man she has never met, whose cheekbones she sees each time the bathroom mirror fogs. By breakfast, both mothers are screaming into phones, one threatening litigation for emotional kidnapping, the other begging nurses to bar the door against a lawsuit that feels like salvation. The father stands between, holding the second, unopened DNA kit, its barcode stripes resembling a blackout poem no one has the courage to read. Clouds clot above the driveway. The storm that hesitated all week finally leans in, tapping the roof with impatient fingers, waiting for someone, anyone, to decide whose blood runs, who stops. She scrolls again, thumb trembling like a trapped moth. The locked notes icon, accidentally left open after last night's giggling sleepover, glows on the screen. Inside, one line, timestamp 3:07 a.m. They'll kill me if they know I'm not really theirs. The mother's lungs forget their rhythm. The phone suddenly weighs more than the infant she once carried out of the ward. Downstairs, her husband reheats coffee he doesn't drink. Steam fogs the kitchen window, the way hospital glass fogged 16 years ago during the 2008 blackout, when a transformer blew and every monitor in the nursery blinked off for 7 undocumented minutes. News clips from the archive show firefighters silhouetted against crib-high flames, records room reduced to curled ash. The camera lingers on a nurse clutching 2 swaddled newborns, face obscured by a smoke-streaked mask, an image the mother replays until the pixels feel like evidence. She drives to the lab the same afternoon, saliva samples rattling like guilty dice in the plastic tube. 48 hours later the PDF arrives, 0% match. The words look typed by a stranger's hand, yet they reset the axis of her life. She remembers the first kick inside her belly, the hiccup after birth, the scar after the fall, proof rewritten as rumor. The hospital risk manager meets them beneath fluorescent calm. He slides a second folder across the table, a deceased donor file. Their biological daughter, he explains, died 10 years ago in a T-bone crash on Route 9. The only survivor, the driver who adopted her, is a single father now dying of pulmonary fibrosis in a county hospice, oxygen counting down the days he can still call the girl Sweet Pea. That night, rain needles the gutters, while the mother scrubs dried spaghetti from a bowl. Upstairs, the daughter listens through vent slats, hearing her own life pronounced alone. Before dawn, she stuffs a backpack, crawls out the window, thumb finding a ride north. The adoptive mother, awakened by engine noise, stands barefoot on the driveway screaming a name that suddenly feels like borrowed jewelry. By sunrise, she is on the phone with counsel, demanding charges for emotional kidnapping, as if language can handcuff a runaway heart. The father remains in the foyer, second kit unopened, barcode stripes flickering under the hallway bulb like Morse code no one taught him to read. Outside, the storm finally splits the sky. Thunder follows the daughter's bus down the highway, applause for a disappearance still in motion. She paces the corridor's chipped tile, the unopened box clenched like a loaded gun. Inside, the lawyer's measured syllables still ricochet: emotional kidnapping, statute of limitations, best interests of the minor, phrases that feel obscene beside the memory of the child's first scraped knee, first fever, first day of school. But paperwork cannot rock a grown woman in its arms, cannot erase 13 birthdays lit by candles she personally carried into darkened rooms. It can only name the wound, not cauterize it. She tears the strip, cardboard sign open. Swab, envelope, label, duplicate. Clinical artifacts that promise either absolution or annihilation. Her husband watches from the archway, rain dripping off his cuffs, eyes bloodshot with mileage and dread. He has already driven half the county searching for tail lights that refuse to materialize. Now he drives nowhere, standing still while the odometer of guilt keeps spinning. The instructions are 3 terse lines, yet she reads them 4 times, vision smearing, pulse drumming the same question. What if biology is a ghost you can't exorcise, only invite deeper into the house? She scrapes the inside of her cheek, feels the bristles of the swab scrape back, a tiny reprimand for every bedtime story she may have told to the wrong bloodstream. Instead, he stares at the foyer mirror, where a family photo, taken last Christmas, all matching sweaters, has begun to slide, top edge sweating off a foggy pane of glass. It strikes him that the image is surrendering to gravity the way certainty has, gradually, then all at once. She seals the packet, presses so hard the adhesive crackles like ice giving way. The courier will be here in 20 minutes, results in 48 hours. Time dilates, cruel and elastic, stretching her pulse across 2 endless days while the girl, her girl no, someone else's perhaps, rides a greyhound through cloudburst, earbuds leaking songs about running away, cities without names, love that does not ask for birth certificates. Thunder retreats, leaving a hush that feels like aftershock. In it, she hears the echo of a lullaby hummed in a smoke-slick nursery 15 years earlier, notes warped by fire alarms and crying infants. Memory smells of scorched plastic, of antiseptic panic. She wonders whether the nurse who orchestrated the swap sang too, or if desperation is mute. She sets the kit on the hall table, alignment obsessive, barcode out, parallel to the edge, as though neatness might influence fate. Her husband steps forward, stops, withdraws. Both are terrified of touching, of contaminating evidence, or of confirming with one embrace that evidence is all they have left. Through the transom window, headlights knife the wet street, slow, searching. Courier or conscience, or something else entirely. They do not breathe. The bell is about to ring, and neither can decide which result terrifies them more: a match, or the final, absolute void of no connection at all. The bell rings, but no one moves. The courier drives away, taillights dissolving into red vapor. Inside, the envelope remains unopened, a white rectangle glowing under the foyer bulb like a tiny, accusatory screen. She lowers herself onto the bottom stair, fingernails denting the cardboard, replaying the past 24 hours in strobing fragments. The sleepover giggle that turned to silence, the iPhone Notes app flickering open, the sentence that detonated everything. They'll kill me if they know I'm not really theirs. Across the hall he stands, arms folded so hard the tendons twitch, staring at the crown molding as though answers might crawl out of the plaster. 10 years of bedtime stories, scraped knees, algebra tears, now felt like borrowed scenery in a play that closes tonight. The lab logo on the envelope seems to pulse, matching the artery in her throat. She remembers the smell of burning paper from the 2008 blackout, the way embers floated like fireflies above the cribs, and how a young nurse, eyes shining with private terror, wrapped 2 blankets instead of one. Upstairs, the daughter's bedroom door hangs ajar, the hollow where her backpack should be screaming louder than any goodbye note. She is already 2 towns away, thumb raised on a rain-slick on-ramp, rehearsing the word dad at strangers until it sounds possible. He thinks of the crash report filed a decade ago, the single dad who raised a ghost, the hospital lawyers circling like gulls over a landfill, and feels the floor tilt beneath his soles. She thinks of the second kit hidden in her robe pocket, the one labeled paternal only, and wonders whether fire can hide in a gene the way it hides in walls, quiet, smoldering, waiting for oxygen. Outside, thunder. Inside, her thumb finally slides beneath the flap, paper cuts promising blood.